Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Wine with Jimmy channel. I am your host, Jimmy Smith. Thank you for clicking by. This channel is all about the good stuff. It's all about wine, and it's really designed to help you get maximum enjoyment out of the wonderful world of wine. Many of my presentations follow key text and key syllabus of major wine qualifications. So lots of good knowledge here to learn, even if you're an enthusiastic amateur. If you do have any comments or questions, please do get in touch. You can do so by commenting on this video. Perhaps you have found these videos useful, you have any feedback, maybe you have a favorite wine you want to share with people, anything like that, please do get in touch. So this video is all about Picpoul de Pinet from the south of France. And please mark a date for your calendar. July the 11th is what we call Picpoul de Pinet Day. So you will have a day to the pure celebration of this wine style and grape variety from the south of France. So what I'm going to do here is talk a little bit about Picpoul de Pinet, and then I will identify two wines which are available in the United Kingdom at Majestic Wine Warehouse. So here we're going to go through the information about the AOC, that's the Appellation Origine Contrôlée, which is a wine area called Picpoul de Pinet. This was given the high level of quality status, AOC, in 1985, and the area is what I've pointed out on the map. So this is just very close to Béziers, in between Béziers and Montpellier on the coast of the Mediterranean. Its vineyard lands are found on low-lying land close to the coast, as you'll see from the map. And this wine area, Picpoul de Pinet, is dedicated solely to white wines, certainly servicing the local climatic conditions of the Mediterranean coast. The wines also are quite distinctively bottled. You'll find them in these beautiful, long, sort of shaped flute bottles, embossed sometimes with certain crests on them as well, which really do make them stand out on the shelf. The wines here are actually mainly exported. About 2/3 of Picpoul de Pinet wines are exported. And the top export market is where I am from, the United Kingdom. We love Picpoul de Pinet. About 60% of the exports, followed by the United States of America and then the Netherlands. Now, cooperatives such as Ormarine in Pinet itself. So, by the way, Picpoul is the grape or wine style. De Pinet, Pinet is the place. And there is a cooperative called Ormarine. And they play a very important part in the production here. So 90% of the wine made in Picpoul de Pinet is made by cooperatives, and Ormarine, which you will try a couple of wines from later, are the dominating force behind those cooperatives. So what's the grape variety behind this wine style? It's entirely made from Picpoul Blanc. You'll see that written at the bottom of your slide. So the wine is called Picpoul, but it doesn't have the QU, it's just a C in place. But the grape is actually spelled Picpoul, as you see written there on your slide. Now, this is a very useful grape variety because even in these very warm conditions, it retains acidity very well, making exceptionally bright, fragrant, fresh wines, which is mightily important to service the local areas of places like Béziers, the Étang de Taux, for example, the lake area, plus places like Montpellier, for example. It's a very important wine, certainly for tourism locally. But as we mentioned, very important also for the export markets. Now, there's quite a lot to talk about here. So the grape is in the background of your picture, but you'll see there is somewhat of a lip balm on the page, which says lip smacker. That's because the word Picpoul means lip stinger or lip smacker when translated into English from Occitan. So Picpoul comes from Old Occitan, which is the language of this area down here. You will know that the broader region here is called Languedoc. And that actually translates as the language of yes, oc meaning yes, a very free thinking, forward thinking area for many, many centuries. And the wine here, Picpoul means lip smacker and lip stinger when translated from Occitan into English because of its high levels of acidity. Now, the Picpoul variety was first quoted by the famous botanist J.B. Magnol in his book, which the book was called Sylve Planetarium, or Wild Plants, among the 6 best-known grape varieties in Languedoc. So that was in the early 17th century. So we certainly have a good 400 years of documentation of this grape variety. So what do we expect from this? Well, typically the wines made here, Picpoul de Pinet from the grape variety Picpoul Blanc, will typically be dry, light to medium bodied, and that's typically because of the warmth of the climate here. Medium plus to high acidities. It has an uncanny ability to protect its acidities, with medium sort of lemon and light floral characteristics. But you find apple, pear, stones as well, which I've put there upon your slide so you get a visual depiction of the wine style. The wines are typically acceptable to good and inexpensive to mid-priced. Winemaking techniques here. The grapes that are used here today were once used for the base wine of the local vermouth industry. But since the arrival of great technology, new technologies, certainly in the 1970s and the 1980s, with things like gentle pressing, avoiding oxidation using different gases, fermented at lower temperatures, the addition of cultured yeasts mean that you get fruitier, more consistent wines here. And really, there's been a huge, rapid growth in this category for the local tourism market, but also the export markets as well. And there's also an increasing amount of creativity and innovation in these wine styles, turning them from a one-trick pony into actually a multifaceted wine style, certainly when it comes to the integration of lees contact. And in fact, it's a little bit similar to the story of Albariño from Galicia in northwest Spain, producing these real fruit and floral bombs initially. And there's been this movement in the last sort of 10 to 15 years, making more rounded textural expressions with lees contact. The same is happening here in this small AOC. The cooperative we're going to focus on here is the Ormarine cellar, or the Cave Ormarine, started in 1922 when a group of wine growers in Pinet gathered in a spirit of solidarity and formed a wine growers association. Now, a lot has happened in the last 100 years. In recent time, Cave Ormarine in 2008 merged with another local cooperative, and then in 2016 with 2 further cooperatives, but retaining the name Cave Ormarine. Ormarine currently has 470 growers with around 2,500 hectares, making some 150,000 hectolitres. They account for about 40%, that's 2 out of 5 bottles of every Picpoul de Pinet made. Leading the team of enologists here is Cyril Béon. He's the former president of the Enologists of France and now heads up this cooperative. So the first wine to look out for available at Majestic Wine is the Cave Ormarine Villemarin 2024. You'll see a picture of the bottle shot on the left-hand side. Key fact here is that this wine is still fermented, very much through protective winemaking, to make sure that it retains fresh primary characteristics. I have some here in my glass, and it's full of this lovely sort of light floral, green citric, little bit herbal herbaceous, and a bit of minerality to it. The alcohol comes in at 13%, which is fairly standard for this part of the world, and the price here is £11 in the UK And if you purchase it as part of a mix 6 in Majestic, it's about £10.50. I would say if you are a fan of Pinot Grigio or Sauvignon Blanc, this is a happy medium place with the delicacy and freshness and simplicity of Pinot Grigio, and then some sort of muted aromatics that you might find from Sauvignon Blanc. Now, not everybody is like me and drinks wine on its own. Most people, certainly from the continent, will drink it with food. So what would we recommend having with this? Well, I think, of course, one of the most classic matches here is oysters. Now, often Picpoul de Pinet is called the Muscadet of the south. Muscadet is from the Loire Valley in northwest France. And this is often a sort of a representation of that style, but in the south. Now, the oysters are fantastic. With its acidity and salinity, it cuts through the brininess of oysters, and often the real punchy, briny ones are better to go with Picpoul de Pinet. If you're not a fan of oysters, do look out for things like clams, mussels, lightly grilled white fish, such as sea bass. Battered fish, in fact, will work quite nicely as well, such as fish and chips that you may have in the UK. Also look out for things like prawns and even things like shrimp as well. I think if you're being a little bit fancy, a Peruvian dish called ceviche, which is cooked in acids, lemon acid, is fantastic. You know, sort of sprinkled with a little bit of pepper, onion, coriander with some fish, white fish is just absolutely fantastic. Also, if you're more on the vegetarian side of things, try mixing it with things like zucchini, fennel based, for example, and anything with sort of green olive will work quite nicely. Also, look out for sushi. It works quite well with avocado rolls, and more simpler sushi, rolled sushi will be fantastic. But please avoid the soya sauce because that will overpower this wine style. The second wine is a slightly more grown-up example. This is the Cave Ormarine Cuvée Estella, and it's the Élevage Sur Lie Fine 2023. So this is, like I mentioned, a little bit more grown-up, and here is your label, and a little bit more of a textural style. The key fact here is that it's aged on the fine lees after its fermentation, which imparts more body and texture and a little bit of a flavour and aroma to the final wine, giving a bit of a creaminess. The alcohol's a bit of a step up here. It's 13% actually, sorry, it says 14% on your screen, so it's actually 13%. The price is just a little bit more. It's £13.50 down to £12.50 in that mix 6 at Majestic. And I would say if you like Albariño from Spain, or a slightly more premium Muscadet Sévère Men, which you're looking at sort of £10 to £15 mark, this would be a great sort of alternative style that you should look out for. What should you match with this style? Well, this style's lovely because it has more weight. There's slightly more riper fruit. Yes, it's in green fruit, but it goes towards the sort of stone fruit area, a little bit tropical and has that hint of creaminess, but still retaining the salty character that Picpoul has. Look out for sort of baked scallops, would be a lovely match. And if you're really feeling fancy, try on the right hand side a bouillabaisse, which is a fish stew. So often with the likes of lobster, prawns in there, monkfish, mussels, real hearty dish which works very nicely. And then if you're looking at sort of non seafood, look at things like risotto based for this. Certainly if you look at sort of rabbit and chicken, pork type risotto dishes. Even if you are not meat inclined, then creamy based risotto will work quite nicely, certainly when you can bring in a lot of spring vegetables into the mix as well. Now, the next few slides are if you are studying, certainly Majestic Wine Warehouse staff will find this useful, and those of you studying the Level 3, I've put together some slides here on the systematic approach to tasting, so the exact tasting notes. Your first wine then was that Ormarine Villemarin Picpoul de Pinet. This is pale and lemon in appearance for those first two marks. It's not a hugely aromatic wine on the nose, but it has some good character, so medium minus or medium on the intensity. It's fairly simple and fresh, that's the way it's designed to be, and very youthful in its development on the nose. The palate. Now, there are no secondary and tertiary characteristics in this wine. It's a wine that has light floral compounds, apple, citrus, a hint of stone, and then a bit herbaceous, herbal, and a bit of that saline whetstone character. You'll see the things I've put up here, things like a little bit of honeysuckle, elderflower, and white blossom, potentially a bit of jasmine. Green apple, pear droppy on this wine style, lemon and lime, little hint of white peach, then that grass, fennel, dill, and wet stones. No secondary, no tertiary. This wine is kept away from things like lees or mallow or oak, and there's no development in this wine style. The taste on this wine is that it's dry. All Picpoul de Pinet is made in a dry style. Medium plus to high acidity. Medium alcohol at 13%. Medium minus body, and that's a big thing. Often it has over Muscadet, which is often compared to, is a little bit more body than most generic Muscadet. So Muscadet is typically quite light from the north of France, whereas this is medium minus or medium for a Picpoul de Pinet. Medium flavour intensity, simple again on the palate, with a medium finish. And those, once again on the taste, probably slightly more apple and lemon on the taste, with a lemon zest. A little bit of a pear character, but then honeysuckle, elderflower, fennelly, a little bit grassy, and stone brininess on the finish. The second wine was the Cuvée Estella, the Sur Lie expression of Picpoul de Pinet by Ormarine. This has a little bit higher colour to it, so it's a pale to medium intensity and lemon. I wouldn't go as far as gold. Medium intensity. This has got more concentration than your previous wine, but probably a little bit less aromatic, hence why I've gone for about the same on intensity. And I don't think it's displaying anything aged at this time, so I still think this is a youthful style. I know in comparison to the last, it seems a little bit more mature. That's just the winemaking that's coming through. The smell here is that the florals are a little bit sweeter, acacia, honeysuckle with a touch of chamomile, blossom potentially like a hint of like apple blossom, apple itself, grapefruit, a little bit of lemon, peach and apricot come through here, little bit of banana and melon, a little bit of fennel and that wet stone. So you see that it's fairly similar to the stamp of the last one because it's the same grape in the same area, but just a little bit of a shift in style. It's more likely that the fruit that's sourced for this is a little bit higher in quality. It's probably slightly more concentrated and then stands up to the lees contact very well. And that's what you get here. You get a little bit of breadiness, a little bit of bread dough and a creaminess that come through, just in small amounts. No wood. This is still stainless steel, but just that lees contact that comes through. So still dry, still lots of acid, medium plus or high acid. Now I've put alcohol here at high. Please drop that to medium. It should be medium, this one. So medium alcohol. And the body here, I would say sort of medium or medium plus. And that really comes through with the slightly riper fruit and the sort of creamy character. Medium or medium plus flavour intensity and medium plus long length. And that's really where you get fruit, floral, a little bit creamy and salty on that finish. A really decent style, very much, if you want a bit more complexity and you want to match it with food like bouillabaisse or richer fish, like scallops and lobster, for example, I would certainly consider using this just for a couple of pounds more. It's a fantastic wine, really, to match a bit more weight. If you want more casual, then the first Picpoul is certainly much more in that category. Well, thank you very much for your time and attention talking about these two Picpoul de Pinets. I hope you've enjoyed the tasting, the information as well. Do go and try them. They're fantastic for summer and really good for Picpoul Day on the 11th of July. Thank you very much. I've been Jimmy Smith, and if you do have any comments or questions, get in touch below. And if you are available around London and the UK, come and say hi for a glass, or bottle. Ciao for now.